Today, lads, we're going to talk a little bit about the fourth quarter, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how the Atlanta Dream, in my opinion, just had no answer for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in that fourth quarter. And realistically, for quite a bit of the second half, they had no answer.
The Atlanta Dream's coaching staff appeared completely stunned, with no answers for Caitlin Clark's brilliance. And honestly, they're not the first. Time and again, coaches enter the game with confidence, only to leave baffled and overwhelmed by just how dominant Clark truly is. By the time the Fever sealed their commanding 99-82 victory, the frustration was written all over the Dream's sidelines. No strategy, no adjustments, and absolutely no solution to stop the Caitlin Clark takeover.
Let me say this about the Atlanta Dream. Y'all was hanging in there for 2 quarters, but then y'all ran out of gas. Cause you know why? The Indiana Fever ran y'all out y'all own building, and it was a sight to see. Y'all was huffing and puffing, trying to get some air and find some extra wind, and y'all...
This is exactly what happens when players make the mistake of labeling Caitlin Clark as just the 9th best point guard. She doesn't waste her time clapping back online or chasing headlines. Instead, she lets her game do the talking. The noise is ignored, the rankings mean nothing. Clark simply shows up, locks in, and dominates. While the critics keep talking, she delivers wins. Loudly, clearly, and effortlessly, right on the hardwood where it matters most.
There's no surprise that the Indiana Fever looked best tonight when the offense was ran through Caitlin Clark. There's no surprise that the offense looked best tonight when we pushed the ball off of a make, pushed the ball off of a miss. There's no surprise that the Indiana Fever looked best tonight when Caitlin Clark was surrounded by players that don't have an ego, surrounded by players that said, I'm going to be MVP of the WNBA this year. You see how easy it is when you just let Caitlin play ball and others follow.
What unfolded against the Atlanta Dream wasn't just another game. It was a statement. This was Caitlin Clark fully unleashed, dictating the pace, setting the tone, and leaving her imprint on every possession. She didn't need to score 30 to dominate. Her 12 points paired with 9 dazzling assists told the real story. For the first time, the entire system flowed through her, and the result was undeniable. Total control for Indiana, complete chaos for Atlanta, and a masterclass in tempo and leadership.
They made sure Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands. She became the creator of offense. That's what we've been saying. Her and Aaliyah Boston, I believe it was 4 times, got the Stockton-Malone 2-man game working. Dantas got involved at one point with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin was still off on her shooting tonight.
The most remarkable part was that Stephanie White finally handed Caitlin Clark the keys. She ran the show on her terms, fast, aggressive, and completely in control. She didn't need to light it up from 3 to make her statement, either. The Dream's coach may have thought he was prepared, but what he wasn't ready for was a fully unleashed Caitlin Clark, pushing the pace at full speed and setting the entire game on fire.
Even when she wasn't exactly getting when it wasn't her putting the ball in the basket or her showing up on the stat sheet, she was burning Jordan Canada. And people don't understand how good Jordan Canada is on defense. She was absolutely burning Jordan Canada. Canada could not stay in front of her. And that is a big thing. That is genuinely a big thing. That if you can't stay in front of her, it creates a space for everybody else. And there were some hockey assists, there was good ball movement, there was a lot of things. There was a lot of real positives when it came to Caitlin Clark.
You know what's beautiful about all this? The Atlanta Dream's coaching staff likely spent hours dissecting film, mapping out defensive schemes, and preparing every possible tactic to slow down Caitlin Clark. They probably talked about traps, full court pressure, and making her uncomfortable on every possession. But when the final buzzer sounded and the scoreboard read 99-82 in the Fever's favor, all that preparation evaporated. The coach stood stunned, watching as his team was dismantled piece by piece by the very player critics once laughably called the 9th best point guard in the league.
Obviously, tough game. I thought we had a good first half. We were really competitive. Second half we just had so many defensive breakdowns, and give them credit, they were getting extra possessions, and those extra possessions were turning into points just about every single time. So, just valuing ending their possession. It's not enough to force a tough shot. We got to come down with the ball. And then, we had some defensive breakdowns that they made us pay for. They were able to extend the lead. And then at the end, we had to, do some gambling and do some things that really were not.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Because this isn't just a one-time storyline. Coaches across the WNBA have been baffled time and again after facing Caitlin Clark. Remember when critics said her college dominance wouldn't translate to the pros? Instead, she's proving night after night that she's not just adjusting to the WNBA. She's redefining excellence at this level. The irony is sharp. The same coaches who overhaul their entire defensive game plans to contain her, who guard her like she's in her prime Michael Jordan era, still ranked her only the 9th best guard in the league. They fight to limit her, downplay her impact, and yet when the lights are brightest, they're the ones left exposed. Clark keeps rising, and her influence is becoming impossible to ignore.
The Atlanta Dream were able to really neutralize Caitlin Clark in the first half, and I know Caitlin Clark had 5 first-half assists, but they were able to neutralize Caitlin Clark's impact on the game in that first half. And in the second half, regardless of the box score numbers, how Caitlin completely took over. So the big way they were able to neutralize Caitlin Clark, and I think it was almost an issue with Stephanie White as much as anything.
Against the Atlanta Dream, something truly special unfolded. Stephanie White finally embraced what Iowa fans had always known. Caitlin Clark is at her most dangerous when she controls the game's pace and flow. All season, White had tried to fit Clark into a system that didn't match her unique skill set, often leaving her visibly frustrated as she stood in the corner, while others brought the ball up the floor. But in this game, everything changed. White seemed to realize that containing Clark's instincts was like trying to cage a hurricane. When you have a once-in-a-generation talent, you don't force her into a box. You build the system around her. And that's exactly what happened. An acknowledgement that Clark's style is unstoppable when she's given the freedom to lead.
Clark sort of gaining her rhythm as the game went along, sort of returning to her form as the game went along, finding that pep in her step as the game went along, even though the shooting numbers were tour dates again, and she's got to find that shooting stroke at some point. Look, it can't go on all year, but you understand where some of those struggles come from when you deal with a quad injury and then a groin injury, and you're thrust back into the lineup and you're trying to find your way. But I do think it was the way that Clark found her way to the basket that was the difference in this game, really. That was what changed.
The Dream's coach could only watch as Caitlin Clark orchestrated the Fever's offense like a maestro, running the show with flawless precision. She carved through the defense, threading passes that seemed impossible, creating opportunities out of nothing, and adjusting on the fly in ways Atlanta simply couldn't match. Even on a night when her threes weren't falling, she remained in complete command. What made it even more remarkable was how she elevated everyone around her. That's the part critics so often overlook. Clark doesn't just shine individually, she lifts her entire team. And against the Dream, she transformed the Fever into a masterpiece.
Bad game. It's been an inconsistent ride for Indiana and for Clark as well, who's had to fight through a lot of injuries. But I think the encouraging thing from Cece was the fight that she showed on the floor. Clearly, she's not quite at 100%, still working her way back, hasn't found her 3-ball yet, but what she did was attack. She used the physicality against the defenders by putting her head down and going to the basket. That opened things up for her playmaking, which of course is another genius aspect of her game. Once that started clicking, the Fever ran away with things. Sophie Cunningham was everywhere. Clark had it going with Aaliyah Boston again. Kelsey Mitchell was cooking. And all of a sudden, you look up and the Fever are lighting up.
When Caitlin Clark plays her brand of basketball, fast, free, and fully in control, the entire Fever roster rises with her. The pace quickens, the floor opens, and suddenly everyone thrives. Kelsey Mitchell gets cleaner looks. Aaliyah Boston has more space to dominate in the paint. And Sophie Cunningham finds herself wide open on the perimeter like it's a shoot-around. The Dream's coach had no answer for this version of Clark, because this version can't be contained. When she's confident, dictating tempo, and empowered to be the floor general who lit up Iowa, she doesn't just play well. She elevates everyone around her. That's when she stops being just a star and becomes something even greater. Transcendent.
They were manhandling Caitlin Clark early in that game. Like, they had two hands on her. They were fully getting into the we are grabbing her and we don't really care. Like, that was their goal. Their goal was they were out there to maul Caitlin Clark. They had they had absolutely no intention of doing anything